Congratulations! If you're here, that probably means you were successful in rooting Japanese maple from cutting over the last year or so. All of these are rooted cuttings from last year. Well, all of them? No. Those have not rooted yet, but they are sprouting, so I hope they get roots. These I've just root pruned, those I've just root pruned, and this one is waiting for a special treatment in another video. This video is about what do you do with Japanese maple rooted cuttings in the second year, so the year after they have rooted. This is the result of last year. I typically, when I prune my Japanese maple, I just take a handful and I plant them up, and at the end of the season either they've rooted or not. If they've rooted, I'll keep them, plant them up in early spring. That's what I've just done now. I'm not going to make this a very long process video. It is just about take them out of the container, look at the roots, the different strategies for different types of rooting. No roots, a few roots but not so nice, pretty good roots, and really cool roots. And actually the really cool roots I'm going to make a different video. I've just plopped it in a container for now. In my videos, if you've seen them, you will notice how I do this. I just take young growth, I dip them in rooting hormone, plant them in vermiculite, and then I enclose the whole thing in a plastic baggie. And last year I was wondering, do I need the plastic baggie or not? I know you need a high humidity, and I tried something else in the form of a reusable Propagator Dome. Many of you will know them. You can use these to grow seedlings in early spring. You have a higher humidity, it stays a little bit warmer, and I decided, hey, why not try it for cuttings? So I planted this full of cuttings in the end of summer last year, and will you look at that. It is early spring. This substrate is quite dry, but many of these cuttings are actually popping up. Now I don't have a video of how I took them, because throughout the growing season I've just been collecting them. I take some cuttings and I plop them in. But I am very happy that many of these have rooted. It has blown over a couple of times, so quite a few of these sticks are just laying about, not rooted. And I'll just toss these aside. It is a shame. Maybe I should plant some of them up actually. Because you see, also these are starting to grow. So I might just plant them back up into the propagator for this season. And just start a new batch with those that have fallen over. But let me remove all of these from the tray, refill the tray. Those that have fallen over, that haven't rooted, let's just put those in a little bit of water. Assuming they still have a bit of color. This is all dead leaves. There's another one. I don't think many of them will root. This is one that has rooted actually. Maybe I should not just be pulling them out and just do this a little bit more gently, because there are plenty that have rooted by the looks of things. This is always a difficult moment in early spring. When you are taking these out of a container, you don't know whether they've rooted or not. So you can uproot the whole tray, or do what I do, just gently lift the lower substrate and you'll feel a bit of resistance. Although that doesn't work for me this time. This is not rooted. This is dead. This has rooted. I'm just soaking the roots when I pull them out, so they don't dry out as I'm doing this. This is not rooted. Rooted. But this goes a lot quicker. Will you look at that? How beautiful are these roots? Now as I was pulling them out, I noticed that there are some very large cuttings with very good roots. This is a almost perfect nebari already. The roots are a little bit long, but that can be remedied. But this I'm not going to put in a very small propagator tray. This is going to go in a pot to grow on its own. And until I do that, just keeping it nice and wet. And the same for something like this. Look at how nice these roots are already. Now trimming the roots, doing this, really encourages the plant to create new roots closer to the trunk. So it helps create a better refined root ball. But this is a very nice plant which I can directly plant into a small pot for further development. It is important to realize how I handle my cuttings. Like this is a cutting with only a few roots, no side roots, and all of them are white. So this is very young, recently rooted. Don't drop it, be gentle. These I just put aside and I'll plant up as is. similar for something like this. Now this one has quite a few long roots already, but you see it is a very complex root system with many of the roots growing down. I want horizontal roots, and these are going to regrow very quickly now because it's spring, so I'm removing all these verticals and just keeping all the laterals. I'm only keeping the ones that are in one plane, and those are made roughly the same length. Now this is a cutting that once I plant it up will regrow these roots very quickly, but the start of the nebari is at least nice and evenly distributed. This is one that has rooted in full with the older roots. I'm just going to cut back one of the long roots. Now this is all old roots. And here you see one that has a very long root just on one side and nothing else. This is not very good for bonsai. So I'm going to take a risk and I'm going to say, well, there's two very small side roots on the side, and I'm going to clip off this very long one in the hope that at this stage it will re-root very easily. This of course goes into a very, very small pot. Similarly, if I just have two very long ones, just cut them back. This is of no risk to the health of the plant. This will encourage more roots to grow closer to the trunk. Here you also have one very dominating root. And then I cut the other ones, just the tips. This is actually quite evenly distributed with 1, 2, 3, 4 roots, but nothing on this side, and I do want it, so I'm going to again reduce these substantially. Just like that, but this is good enough to go in a separate pot straight away. These are still young, but quite long, and I can just remove the tips. So on a cutting to cutting basis, I decide how do I handle these roots. This one, similarly to the other ones, is so good that I want to put it in a new pot straight away, and I'm just going to go down and take the center root out that is so overly long here. That's all this. And now I'm just taking the laterals and cutting them back a little bit, and this can also go into an individual pot to itself. This, just one singular root is very sensitive. I'm just putting it aside for direct planting up. Same with this one. Same with this one, where you just have one tiny little root coming from the side. Just like that. I might lose a few cuttings in this process, but I aim for very good root bases. So I don't really mind if I lose a few, if I then am left with 2 or 3 that are really, really good. Now for planting these up, I don't want the roots to be any longer than can fit in the pot comfortably, so I'll just reduce those a little bit more. That way I create a nice smooth flat nebari, because they are just going to go in the pot. I press them down, ensuring that the roots are not circling and flat, and I just fill them up. One done, the rest to go. Hope I have enough pots. Also here, these are quite long for these pots, so I'm just again removing a little bit more. And I should actually do it in the better order, so I start working in the back and then towards the front. Because otherwise I can't get my hands in between, of course. Just like this. Always think about what you're doing, what you're aiming for, and then taking the proper steps, and don't rush this sort of work. And of course important, don't let the roots dry out in this process, right? So you see there's a lot of water everywhere. That's because I've sprayed all these with water in between, so that they stay nice and moist as I'm doing the recording. It's a downside of recording videos. You don't always do what's optimal for the trees at that time. Now if you do like these sort of techniques videos, I have lots of them on my channel, and I do invite you to browse around. If you do find that the videos that are on there are in general of help to you, maybe you'd like to consider subscribing to the channel. That way you can get an update whenever I post one. Think about it. Now this one I'm a little bit worried whether this pot is not too small already, or whether I should just take a very wide pot. Maybe that's best. I think this is a sheer... I think This is a cork bark variety, so this might be very nice. Look at this root spread. I have a very cool idea for this tree, and I'll do that, but I'm not going to do it now, so I'm going to just put this in a little pot and I'll come back at this tree in a few days. Let's ensure that the gravel doesn't fall through, and just put a little bit of mesh at the bottom of each little potlet. Then add a little bit of a layer of substrate, and then I can just plant all these small ones up as well. I'm not going to do anything but just plop them in there and cover them with substrate. So I'm not going to film on that. It's not all that interesting, I think. Right, all settled. These now get watered, then they go into the shade, and in a week or two I will move them slowly in more sun, and in a month they'll be in full sun. These are many varieties. There is my own lace leaf Arakawa. There is a Shishigakashira. There could be Saigans. And no, I'm not selling any. And no, I don't have any to spare. These are usually passed on to friends or people that I meet at a club or at a workshop. And otherwise, they just go in my growing field to grow a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger. For now, this first year, they just have to grow. And only then are they ready to go to somewhere else. They really need to have rooted through and through. I don't want to give away unhealthy trees. And last but not least, the ones that have not rooted yet, I just put them back into the tray, plant them up, put the cover over it, water it, and try to not have the cover slide over this time. And I think in a couple of weeks these will start to root or die off. Either one is fine.